From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. A Park City landlord is being taken to court. This after Stillwater County officials say raw sewage drained from his property, causing surrounding well water nitrate levels to surge. So Q2's Victoria Hill headed out to Park City to find out what's next for the landlord and the impact on the community.
Nitrate levels started climbing earlier this year in wells downstream and near the 15-unit Homestead complex that houses 39 tenants. The person in question, landlord Gary Whites. During investigation, raw sewage was found pumping into a cistern, then later into a makeshift ditch, then a hose leading into the alley, causing the sewage to spread onto adjacent properties. Montana's groundwater standards state nitrate levels may not exceed 10 milligrams per liter. Now keep that in mind for this next piece of information. A complaint filed in Stillwater County District Court details an investigation by the county sanitarians showing in March, just across the street from the complex, the levels at the Park City Post Office measured at 11.6. Just last month, when tested again, that number jumped to 18.9. The neighboring Park City Fire Department's west well was at 12.2 in March, and just down the street, one of the wells at Park City School measured at 9.50.
So in 2016, this is March of 2016, our nitrate level was at a 2.0, and that was about our average number.
I met with the Park City School superintendent before school got out for the summer.
The one thing we're fortunate of right now is we don't have the bacteria in the water, because if there was a bacteria, then we would probably be stopping use of all of our water. So we don't have that, but we're afraid that that's going to happen if things aren't mitigated.
The contamination put an extra strain on the school as they had to make the move to bottled water for drinking and cooking.
We were fortunate with some donations in the community for bottled water, and then Culligan stopped by out of Laurel and brought us 8 water coolers and a rack of 40 5-gallon jugs, so that way we could have water throughout the school for everybody.
Generally speaking, the water here in Park City is safe. That is, if you are on this side of the tracks. But once you cross the tracks, that's when nitrate levels enter unsafe and unhealthy levels.
Just on the other side of the railroad tracks, their nitrate level sitting at 0.6, so it's real low. We were real low, 1.5 or something in that area just a few years ago. So we know we can get it back to that again.
Providing test results, the County Health Board is asking a judge to rule the source of the problem is the homestead. Even after 2 requests made by mail and 1 by phone to Whites, raw sewage was still being illegally discharged on the property. The DEQ issued a violation letter in May that requires Whites to come up with a plan and make repairs by June 30th. In Park City, Victoria Hill, MTN News.
Now, Victoria says she did reach out to Whites for comment but did not hear back. The fallout continues from flooding that forced many to evacuate their homes in North Billings yesterday. This after the Billings Bench Water Canal overflowed Sunday. Q2's Mitch Legge brings us more on Red Cross efforts and the city's progress on stabilizing the ditch bank.
Billings City street crews were hard at work on Monday, cleaning up debris left over in a north side neighborhood after a canal overflowed and sent water cascading through the streets on Sunday. The canal, owned and operated by the Billings Bench Water Association, overflowed near the 2000 block of Burnstead Drive. Due to a blockage in a tunnel about a half-mile downstream, the water flow damaged some homes and apartments in the area. About 12 people from 96 residences in Sunday's evacuation area utilized a Red Cross shelter at Metro Park. The shelter was taken down at 3 p.m. Monday. Colin Skinner lives on the second floor of an apartment in the area. He was at work at his job as a security guard at the Phillips 66 refinery when he heard the emergency call on a police scanner.
I was like, oh no, flooding up there, hope it doesn't get bad. And then next thing you know, I see a Facebook post about it. I'm like, okay, maybe I should go wake up my grandma, because I called her and she wasn't picking up, so I was like, okay, maybe I'll go wake her up.
Skinner said he helped his grandmother get to the Red Cross shelter and went back to work and was allowed back into his home around 6 p.m. Sunday night. On Tuesday, Red Cross staff will complete a damage assessment to see how much property was damaged and who needs help.
We contact the property manager if it's an apartment complex. We work directly with them. We get a tenant list, and then we go just to the affected apartments. and we would go with an escort with an apartment manager.
In the meantime, geologic and construction crews contracted by the city are working to stabilize a section of the canal bank near North 15th Street. Public Works Director Debbie Melling said the work to keep the bank from slipping down the hill due to gravity is expected to take a week. Crews will drive soil nails into the top third of the bank and shave dirt off of the top to lessen the overall weight pushing down. In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
Melling added that a geologic professional is monitoring the area twice daily to ensure safety and minimal soil movement. All right, turning to Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh. And Ed, with the heat can come storms, and we could be seeing some strong ones before the week's out.
That's right. Even starting tomorrow, as we take a look across much of the region. Here, let's look at where our future radar is likely to set up. You'll notice by the time we get into even 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we could see some stronger storms into the mountain foothills, Livingston, Big Timber, Columbus, Cook City areas, and then start to slide down into the plains a little bit. But the stronger storms will likely be east of Billings. Notice how much more active it gets even a few hours later once we look from Miles City northward. We'll be looking for perhaps some, once again, strong winds. That'll be the #1 threat, and hail, especially in those yellow shaded areas across the eastern plains of Montana into the western Dakotas. Another round of storms will likely move into the area on Thursday. We'll show you more about that when we get the complete forecast in a few minutes.
Well, the trucking industry has been hit hard with shortages brought on by COVID-19, but the pandemic only sped up an industry-wide trend. According to the American Trucking Association, by the end of 2018, companies across the country were short some 60,000 drivers. MTN's Shannon Newth takes us to a Montana trucking company where the demand for drivers is always high.
As long as I keep moving, I keep working, people keep getting their Nikes and, you know, their Nutter Butters and their Starbucks Frappuccinos in a can, and which I like. Coffee.
Kenneth Brooks has spent more than 2 decades of his life on the road as a truck driver.
And I learn something new every day in this truck.
For 17 of those years, he's been employed by K&K Trucking, based in Great Falls. Brooks is one of 23 drivers on staff for the long-haul trucking company that specializes in refrigerated products.
It's challenging, but it's never boring.
Dave Bertelson and his wife Vicki took over the company from Vicki's father in 1999.
Really make an effort to be still, we are a small company, and that's part of why a lot of drivers like working with us.
If you want your tennis shoes and your groceries, you need us.
While COVID concerns put the brakes on many industries, trucking's been essential.
I've hauled Pepsi, Coke, truck bed liners, produce, oranges, apples, melons, grain. I've had all kinds of things, you know, COVID, toilet paper, paper towels, you name it.
But a pandemic problem of companies struggling to hire workers is nothing new for the trucking industry.
Finding drivers has always been an issue, qualified drivers. There's a lot of marginal and unqualified drivers out there.
Bertelson says part of the issue is that insurance rates, which dictate how they operate, have skyrocketed in recent years, making it harder to do business. He's also seen the average driver age increase.
There's not a lot of young people in trucks, and not a lot of women, and I don't know why.
To help combat this, K&K is offering a $2,000 bonus to current drivers who recruit new ones.
Our industry needs to do a better job of promoting truck driving as a viable profession and a well-compensated profession.
It's a tough job with a uniquely challenging schedule.
If the truck don't move, I don't get paid.
Bertelson says a change in perception of the industry hasn't helped either.
40 years ago, truck driver was a noble profession, and it's been run down over the last 20 years, and I think that's our biggest challenge, is making sure that all of our drivers know that they're very important, and especially through the pandemic, you know, nurses, all the frontline people got a lot of creds. Not so much the truck drivers that are still delivering the goods that we all needed.
In Great Falls, Shannon Newth, MTN News.
Well, Billings Clinic is gearing up for more versatility. The hospital system already operates 2 fixed-wing airplanes to transport patients, but a helicopter is now on board in Bozeman. Q2's Brandon Warren tagged along for training.
Billings Clinic brought out their newest flight crew to do some in-person training ahead of the launch for their newest air ambulance.
We are opening our new Bozeman base in the early part of July.
The air ambulance will serve a 150-mile radius around the Bozeman area and deal mainly with traumas and moving patients from hospital to hospital.
It's really important to have this resource for the community to be able to take them from point A to point B in a rapid manner.
10 staff members will make up the medical flight team. The team will see a variety of different situations, so they use mannequins to help them train to be prepared for anything.
Cut suit where they can do procedures that you would on any other trauma victim, including they can do abdominal surgeries, they could take out an appendix even. In addition to those, again, we have high fidelity sims, so we're doing one later that can do really difficult airways, different heart rhythms, really can simulate almost anything that we would see in real life.
The trainings were as close to real as possible, with varying trauma situations, and even included a special training van, which is the exact dimensions of the helicopter that will be used as the air ambulance.
The biggest thing is preparation. That's why that's why we're here doing this today, is preparation for the scene or something going on. So we're constantly training, we're constantly getting ready.
The air ambulance service is expected to start in early to mid-July. In Billings, Brendan Warren, MTN News.
Well, the crew expects it could respond up to 3 calls per day during the busy season. Still to come on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2, a historic drought may now force the federal government to make a historic decision. That story coming up after the break. Then a little later in sports, a critical week for the MSUB Yellow Jackets as they zero in on their new athletic director. We'll meet the first of 3 finalists coming up in just a bit.